Hello everyone, I'm meteorologist Charlie Ironmonger. Thank you so much for joining me today, but we want to go right now to a special report where NBC's Tom Yamas is interviewing Iran's foreign minister.
Coming on the air with breaking news right now, our exclusive interview with Iran's foreign minister who joined us from Tehran, which just wrapped up moments ago. The foreign minister answering questions about why Iran is attacking its neighbors in the Middle East and whether they're willing to negotiate with the U.S. But I started by asking him who exactly is in charge of Iran right now after its supreme leader was killed over the weekend. Minister Araghchi, we thank you for your time. Who is in charge of Iran right now?
Well, thank you, Tom, for having me in your program. Well, I think the system is working very well. We have lost the supreme leader, but according to our constitution, there is now a council which takes charge of his duties. And then the president, the cabinet, ministers, everybody is in its position. So the system is working very well, and everybody, is in charge.
We know that there's been a council. We know that there's been a council to fulfill the duties of the supreme leader, but we also know that there's a selection process in play to pick the next Ayatollah. There are reports that Ayatollah Khamenei's son is a front runner. Is that true?
Well, actually, I have don't exact information. There are many rumors around, but we have to wait for the assembly of experts to choose the new supreme leader.
I also asked the foreign minister about Iranian ships being sunk and whether he believes Iran can win this war. Here's what he had to say. The world saw your battleship sunk in the Indian Ocean. Dozens of Iranian sailors died. Your response was, quote, "Mark my words, the U.S. will come to bitterly regret the precedent it has set." So what is Iran going to do? And at this point, given the state of your military right now, what can you do?
Well, first of all, that was a training training ship, which was invited by the Indian Navy to take part in an exercise, and they went there as their guests, the Indians guests, and they, did participate in that exercise, and they were in their way back home, and the ship was unarmed. So attacking an unarmed ship full of, training officers and sailors is, a war crime, I have to say.
What type of battleship, Minister, excuse me, but what type of military would allow a battleship into the ocean with no weapons on board?
Well, because it was, the goal was not, their aim was not going to war. They went for an exercise, which was arranged by the Indian Navy. There are so many other guests who went there and they, took part in a parade. And, everything was a peaceful, training course or a peaceful training process. So they didn't need, weapons. They actually went to that mission long before the war started. And when I said that the U.S. would regret that, I meant that they have, the U.S. have unfortunately set a precedent which is, against the international law and would actually damage the whole concept of international, law of seas. When an unarmed, ship is attacked with no reason, and a big number of sailors are killed without taking part in any battle, that would set a precedent. And
the U.S. The U.S. says it controls the skies, that Iran's ballistic missile attacks have dropped more than 80%. The U.S. has hit over 2,000 Iranian targets. The Pentagon says America is winning decisively. Do you think they're wrong?
Well, I think, now 6 days after the war, it is clear that the U.S. Has failed to achieve its main goal, which was clean, rapid victory. They failed to achieve that, and now they are trying to justify why they did attack us and they have, presented so many different reasons, but none of them worked. And now they are talking about, Plan B, and I believe that, their Plan B would be even a bigger failure. So they are controlling our sky. But at the moment,
Minister, your supreme leader was killed. Your top military leaders were killed. Your military installations have been bombed. How can you call that a failure?
Well, then what they have achieved? What was their goal? They came here for a regime change, perhaps. They came here for a rapid victory, so they can, control everything. But they have failed. The system is working. The commanders have been replaced, and the supreme leader is going to be replaced soon, according to the procedures set by the Constitution. So everything is in order. Yes, we have been targeted, but we have also have attacked so many targets in Israel, and so many targets belongs to the Americans. Their assets, their bases, their installations in the region. And, they have not been able to prevent those attacks. Our missiles are still working. Our missiles are still in place and hitting their targets in a very precise manner. So,
Minister, can Iran win this war? If I can ask you, can Iran win this war, and what does winning look like for Iran?
Well, there is no winner in this war. Our win is to be able to resist against, their illegal, goals. And this is what we have done so far. So they have failed to achieve their goals, and we have been able to resist against them, to stand against the most powerful army of the world, as they claim, together with, Israelis, who are also claim to have the big army. Two of them are nuclear armed, but still the people of Iran, the armed forces of Iran, have been able to stand firm against them. They couldn't, stop us firing missiles to Israel and to other destinations. We are doing very well, and they have not been able to stop us. So this is our win.
Yeah,
and I don't think they can be a winner at the end of the day.
Minister, explain to us and to the world, really, Iran has chosen to attack at least 10 other countries, many of them your Arab neighbors. None of them were involved in this war. Why are you attacking your Muslim neighbors during the holy month of Ramadan?
Oh, please don't mistake. We have not attacked our neighbors. We have not attacked Muslim countries. We have attacked Americans' targets and Americans' bases, Americans' installations, which are unfortunately located in the soils of our neighbors. So we have made it clear for them. I have been in touch with their foreign ministers, and I have explained that we are not targeting you. We have no problem with you. We are only targeting the American installations and American bases, and the reason is obvious.
But Minister, Iran is hitting civilian targets, striking hotels, high-rise apartments, airports in many of these countries. Those are not military targets.
Well, no, we have targeted very well. The Americans are. Maybe there have been some collateral damages, as it is in every war. Look, more than 70,000 people were killed in Gaza by Israelis, and Israeli army called all of them collateral damage. So yes, there is the possibility of collateral damages in this situation as well. This is what we have warned everybody in the region beforehand, that if the U.S. attack us, we have no way but to attack their installations, which are in your territories, and then everything may go out of hand, and the war would become a disaster for the whole region. This is what we have warned, and many others have warned, and many Americans have also warned the U.S. administration do not repeat the same mistake. They have done it before in our region, and this is what they have done. This war is not our war. This is not our choice. This is a war of choice by the United States.
Iran's foreign minister also weighed in about whether his country would be open to a ceasefire with the U.S. Here's what he told me. Right now, you're saying Iran does not want a ceasefire.
We are not asking for a ceasefire. And we don't see any reason why we should negotiate with the US when we negotiated with them twice, and every time they attacked us at the middle of negotiations. So there is no request for a ceasefire by us, and there is no request for the negotiation with the US from us. We have never sent any messages to them.
Minister, you said that Iran cannot reach U.S. soil, right, the American homeland, with the weapons that you have right now. Is there any other way that Americans should be concerned that Iran could attack the American homeland?
No, they have enough bases around us. Why we should go further than that? They have enough soldiers, they have enough military assets, and they have enough military bases, military installations. So we don't need to go beyond that.
The Strait of Hormuz hasn't been closed, but the threat of its closure has disrupted the international economy. If this war continues, will Iran try to close the Strait of Hormuz?
But they have not closed it. It is the ships and tankers who don't try to pass through to cross the strait because they are, concerned about being hit by either side. So we have no intention to close it right now. But as the war continues, we will consider every scenario. For the time being, we have not done yet. And but the strait is, almost empty of ships and tankers because of their concern.
In this war, are international oil tankers potential targets for Iran?
No. Why they should be a goal for us?
Iran threatened tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has already threatened them to set them afire.
No, we have not threatened them. They are concerned themselves, and they don't use the Strait of Hormuz because of the concerns they have to be hit by either side.
Is Iran privately talking to U.S. officials right now through back channels?
No.
There's no communication with you and Steve Witkoff or Jared Kushner?
No, not after Thursday that we met last time. We met last Thursday. We negotiated for almost 7 hours. They were so happy when they left the negotiation table because we were able to make significant progress, as the Omani foreign minister said in his statement, and he checked his statement with both sides, and both sides agreed with the term he used. And we were made really significant progress. They were happy when they left, but I don't know what happened after they left.
And I asked Iran's foreign minister about whether his country is prepared for a possible ground invasion from American troops. Watch this. President Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade, the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
So you're saying that Iran is ready and willing to take on the U.S. military if there were to be ground troops?
Well, we were ready for this war even more than the previous war. So you can see, the quality of our missiles, how much they are upgraded after the last war, because we learned lots of lessons. And we are prepared for any other eventuality, even, a ground invasion. So our soldiers are prepared for any scenario. When I said that we are waiting for them, it didn't mean that we are waiting for continuation of the war. No, but we have prepared ourselves to confront with any scenario, with any eventuality, any possibility, and we know that we can handle that.
Are your allies Russia and China helping you?
Well, they are supporting us politically and otherwise.
Are they supporting you militarily?
Well, military cooperation between Iran and Russia is not a secret. We have worked with each other in the past, and that has continued, and will continue, I guess.
And they are actively helping you in this war?
Well, they have always helped us.
So I'm going to understand that to mean yes, that they are actively assisting you in this war.
Well, I'm not going to give the details of our cooperation with other countries right in the middle of the war.
For more, I want to bring in our chief international correspondent, Keir Simmons. He joins us from the region in Dubai. And Keir, he made a lot of news there, that they haven't picked a leader yet, that they're not interested in a ceasefire. And he really tried to justify why Iran is attacking its neighbors. You're in one of those countries right now that is under attack. Does it seem like they're targeting only military assets?
It doesn't, Tom, and that's not my view. That's the view of diplomats in this region and diplomats around the world. I will just say it was a calm, cool and collected performance. But, for example, they've had to delay the funeral of Ayatollah Khamenei. They would not want to do that if everything was fine in Iran. To your question, Tom, for example, the Prime Minister of Qatar, after a call with Foreign Minister Araghchi, said that he categorically rejects Iran's claim that they are only targeting sites that are legitimate, saying they're targeting, for example, the airport. But even then, the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, after a call with Foreign Minister Araghchi, made a statement that did condemn the attacks by the US in Israel, but then goes on to say that Iran should take seriously the legitimate concerns of neighboring countries, that China was confident it would. That is, from the China perspective, a kind of veiled way of saying that Iran needs to be careful about what it's doing in this region. We've had bombardment after bombardment after bombardment. The only reason those bombardments have not done as much damage as they could is because of the air defenses in this region.
Keir Simmons, we thank you. Stand by for us. I want to go to our senior national security correspondent, Courtney Kuby, who covers the Pentagon for us. Courtney, the foreign minister had a lot to say if there is some type of boots on the ground, if there is an invasion by U.S. troops there, posturing at times, but sending a clear message to the White House.
Yeah, I was fascinated by a number of different things he said there, but from a U.S. military perspective, two things really stood out. One was what you just pointed out, Tom, and that's the idea of the Iranian military being ready and waiting for U.S. boots on the ground. Of course, this has been a huge point of contention and discussion here in the U.S., even before the strikes began on Saturday morning. And that is because we have heard differing messages from the Trump administration about the possibility that U.S. troops could be on the ground there at some point as part of this war in Iran. President Trump not ruling it out, and the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, also not ruling out that possibility. The real question is, why would U.S. troops be needed if, in fact, they're able to accomplish most of these military strikes from the air? What would you need them for? And, Tom, the answer would be if, in fact, the U.S. is trying to inflict some sort of regime change there, it would be tough to do that from the air. And then the other big question is the nuclear program. What exactly, how will there be any kind of assurance about exactly what happens at the facilities if the United States military decides to hit them again? We've not seen that so far as part of this current campaign. The other thing I want to point out that I was really fascinated by were his comments to you about the Strait of Hormuz and denying that the Iranians are interested in doing anything in the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, it would have a huge impact on global commerce. It already is, though, as travel through that narrow choke point has already depleted, been decreased so much in the last several days. You can see it there. At some points, it's as narrow as about 12 miles across, with normally a huge amount of tankers and commercial shipping going through that region. It is desperately down right now from where it was. The only reason that was fascinating to me, Tom, was his argument that they would not do anything to impede the Strait of Hormuz. I would just remember or mine it. I would recall 2019 when, in fact, Iran did use mines, limpet mines. Those are little magnetic mines on the side of two tankers, blowing both of them up, disabling them. It was in the Gulf of Oman. This would not be unheard of for the Iranians to lash out using mines in that region, Tom.
Yeah, and previously in the last two sort of conflicts, Iran saying they were going to stop the bombings, that they were done. Here saying there is no ceasefire. They're not interested in a ceasefire. I want to go straight to the White House with senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake. Garrett, I also asked him about an Axios report that's out today saying that President Trump wants to personally be involved. He says that will never happen. Personally involved in the selection of the next Iranian leader. He says that will never happen, that the Iranian people will select their leader.
Yeah, Tom, and when I combine that story with your interview, it's even less clear to me how this war might end, because what I heard from the foreign minister there also was him saying that a victory for the Iranians would be to resist, to essentially survive, and to keep fighting back for as long as possible. He also said there are no conversations actively happening between the Iranians and the U.S. administration in any capacity, nor would there be, because that trust is now gone, that the U.S. has now struck Iran twice while negotiations were already in place. To me, that essentially leaves two possibilities here: that the U.S. continues to this operation until the President Trump feels like the military goals have been reached. That's the, kind of the broad consensus statement from the administration right now, what they're trying to do, or that this does become a far bloodier regime change war. You heard the foreign minister almost welcome the possibility of U.S. ground troops. And that's the other way these Middle Eastern wars tend to go, with the U.S. getting bogged down on the ground. What the goals are here now for the United States, getting clarity from President Trump in response to this interview, is going to be very, very important, because the sort of all the signs are here for how this could be messier and far longer of a conflict than the 4 to 5 weeks that the president has said is the goal.
And the foreign minister also told me that the last 2 times they were negotiating with the Trump administration, they've been bombed. So
Right.
they don't see any reason why to negotiate anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And from their perspective, that's certainly understandable. It's also not clear what they could negotiate away at this point. I mean, the stated goals of the United States here are to destroy their Navy, destroy their ability to project power, their missile program, and their nuclear program. What would the Iranians be able to show the American government to say that we have done this, that they have done this satisfactorily? The odds for a negotiated solution to this war, a negotiated end to this war, are getting smaller by the hour, I think, Tom.
All right, Garrett, Courtney, and Keir, we thank you for all your reporting and your analysis of the interview. We're going to have much more on the interview. You can find it right now on NBCnews.com. We asked him about a variety of issues, including the school that was hit in Iran as well, along with how long the Iran military can withstand the constant bombardment, how many missiles they have left. It was a very long interview, 35 to 40 minutes. Again, we're going to put it out there online at NBCnews.com. This is going to conclude this NBC News special report for now. We're going to have much more of our interview tonight on Nightly News, online at NBCnews.com, and of course, all day on NBC News Now throughout the day for the latest on the war with Iran. I'm Tom Yamas reporting from New York. We thank you so much for watching this NBC News special report.
And again, that was Tom Yamas reporting with NBC on his discussion with Iran's foreign minister about the war in Iran. Now, we do go again and want to highlight some of the news happening around eastern North Carolina. And unfortunately, we have a child rape conviction that we do want to bring to your attention. The U.S. Attorney's Office says a federal jury convicted David Mayes of aggravated sexual abuse against a child. U.S. Attorney Ellis Boyle said, quote, "This monster preyed on the most vulnerable 9-year-old imaginable. He exploited his relationship with the family to violate this defenseless, innocent child in the most inhuman ways imaginable," end quote. Now, the feds say Mayes raped the severely autistic, nonverbal child while he was visiting her at the Marine Corps base. He was visiting her family, Now, the victim's mother came home early and found her daughter's door closed. Alarmed, she opened the door and caught the man in the act, according to a news release. Now, prosecutors say they found Mayes' fingerprints on a tub of petroleum jelly that was in her room, and the victim's DNA was on the man. The 41-year-old man faces a mandatory minimum of 30 years in federal prison and could get life, according to the feds. And now we also want to highlight news out of Washington regarding the IRS and tax refund. This is some good news if you are an early filer and already have your tax return sent in. The State Revenue Department in Raleigh says it's now processing 2025 individual income tax returns. Now, beginning Monday, taxpayers will receive their refunds through the mail and direct deposit. Now, to learn more about refunds, you can follow a link on our website, WITN.com. And now for a look at your forecast. A little bit of cloud cover right now going on over Grifton. This is a view through our Grifton cam, and currently looking at 75-degree air temperatures with a southwesterly breeze showing up at about 13 miles an hour. It has been a warm day thus far, and air temperatures not disappointing. Normal for this time of year is right around the 60-degree mark. Right now, most of us are in the mid-70s. It is toasty out there compared to our seasonal average, but compared to where we were yesterday, only seeing a slight rise in those air temperatures. Winds out of the southwest currently blowing in at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. Those southwesterly winds are bringing up not just your heat, but humidity as well. So through this afternoon, expect to see the upper 70s show up. Partly to mostly sunny skies in the forecast through the afternoon. Will remain partly to mostly clear overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. There may be some low-level clouds out there early tomorrow at 7 a.m. We'll get back into the upper 70s by 1, into the low 80s between 3 and 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. And here's kind of a look at why we are going to be staying so warm. You'll notice all of those low-pressure systems continue to work their way northeastward as they, again, try to progress across the country. This will keep a lot of that cold air locked away further up towards the north. Now, that cold front you're seeing across Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and even extending down into Texas, that will be drifting far enough south on Sunday and Monday to give us an opportunity for some rain showers and potentially even a few isolated thunderstorms. Now, the good news is we are not looking at any sort of severe weather coming in on Sunday or Monday due to the fact that the cold front will not pass completely over eastern North Carolina. It will approach and then pull back northward as we head through your Monday afternoon into Tuesday. That will lead to a little bit more warmth, and well, we'll maintain a little bit of cloud cover there on Tuesday, less so on Wednesday, and then we'll finally get a clearing front moving through the east as we head into the following Thursday. Well, that's all we have time for today's noon news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. We'll be back with more news and weather coming up at the top of the hour. Until then, have a fantastic rest of your Thursday.